Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Kathie J Show. I'm Kathie J. I hope you're having a good day so far, and I'm glad that you found some time to come and hang out with us. So thank you very much, because today is a really important show. All right, I also want to say thank you for following us on social media. We have a YouTube channel, as well as go to KathieJShow.com to catch up on any shows that you might have missed. So we like to have fun on this show, and we have a good time. But we also like to have serious conversations because it's where we learn from each other. So today we're going to learn about some amazing little souls that have been taken from their families way too soon, but their strength lives on by helping other children and their families. Now, I have an awful statistic to share with all of you. 1 in every 330 children will be diagnosed with cancer across the United States every year. That's right. Cancer is the leading disease-related cause, of death in children. So most of us have had to go through seeing a loved one go through cancer treatments, and it's not pretty at all. It wrecks their body. It wrecks their will to live. Now imagine being the parent and watching an innocent child go through that. That's exactly what my guest today is here to share with us. It's her personal story. Everybody, this is Joan Slaughter, co-founder of the Morgan Adams Foundation. Thanks for being here, Joan.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a horrible thing to talk about, so let's talk about the bright side. Let's talk about Morgan, your daughter. Okay, so let's tell us all about Morgan.
Oh.
Morgan Adams.
Well, she was the light of our lives. So she was just a normal, healthy 5-year-old kid. She loved soccer. Their picture over there. She loved her little brother. She liked dressing him up in pink, things like that. So pretty typical child.
What is your son's name?
Andrew.
Andrew, okay. And so everything was fine. She was a healthy, perfect little child.
Healthy.
Yes, right.
Perfect.
Okay, driving you crazy sometimes?
Yes.
Loving and cuddling the next?
Yeah, locking her brother in his room and all of it.
All of it. Yeah. Okay, so what happened when did you start having symptoms? Did she start having headaches? What was it?
Yeah, she went to kindergarten and she would come home with a headache or a little bit of nausea. And I think initially we just thought she had the flu or she was picking up whatever bug was going around, right? It was flu season. And so it wasn't anything overly worrisome for the first couple of weeks. And then, repeated incidents over a month, 6 weeks, we started really having some very painful conversations with the pediatricians about what could it be and what's wrong with our kid?
Little kid, right,
yeah.
Right. Why is she in pain?
Yep.
So then the tests have to start happening, right?
Yeah, so we did a lot of tests and they still weren't exactly sure what was going on. And then she had another bout of nausea and she got pretty dehydrated. So we took her to Children's Hospital to just get some fluids. And she presented with her tumor then.
Okay.
So
when you mean presented with her tumor, were you just with the right doctors and knew what they were looking for, or what did you mean?
No. So one of the things that happens when a kid has a brain tumor, or when anyone does, your brain is bathed in fluid, and as the tumor grows, it pushes the fluid out of your body, and that's part of what the vomiting is about.
Gotcha.
And so when they force fluids back in, then there's not really anywhere for it to go. And so it can create all kinds of secondary problems. And so Morgan had a relatively dramatic presentation. They call it altered mental status. So it was pretty serious, pretty
horrible to see.
Yeah, hard to watch, hallucinating. And it was. So then they did a pupil, they dilated her pupil and checked, and they could see that her optic nerve was bulging, and that's a big indicator that there's something really bad going on. So they did a...
Hang on, we're going to hold you right there. Because, so they know now there's something else going on in there. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to hear more about little Morgan's journey. Yeah. Okay. Kathie J. Oakwood Homes is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness. Kathie J. And welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. Today we're speaking with Joan Slaughter. She's the founder and executive director of the Morgan Adams Foundation. Now, you're also little Morgan's mother.
Yes.
Yes, Morgan Adams was your daughter.
Correct.
And so before we went to commercial, you're at Children's Hospital and the tumor has now presented itself. Mm-hmm. So it's not an issue of doctors previously didn't catch it.
No.
It was an issue of that's how children's tumors show up? Every tumor?
No, not every tumor, but I think that it is, the pediatricians need to rule out the most common ailments first, and that's an appropriate process.
Okay.
I think one of the things we look at through the foundation on the research side is there's a lot of conversations nowadays about early detection and how can we find these things sooner so that they're not the size of a softball in a child's 5-year-old's head. So so I think that as you advance different kinds of technology, that's a really critical thrust in pediatrics and in brain tumors in particular, not to take away from other kinds of tumors or cancers because they're all devastating. But brain tumors they're particularly insidious because they're in your brain.
Right, and everything that controls you is up in your brain. Right.
Yeah.
So was Morgan's the size of a softball?
It was about baseball size.
And it grew in about 6 weeks.
Well, so they don't know how long it had been growing. They know we know roughly how long she had been symptomatic.
So then you have different options for treatments. What did you do? You did the most aggressive treatment, correct?
We did. And so there was surgery. Well, she had emergency surgery and then loads of chemotherapy and radiation. So
your world is now upside down. Everything that mattered 2 hours ago no longer matters.
Yes.
This is your child.
Correct.
So you lived probably at Children's Hospital, right?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is her recovery then like?
She lived 11 months. So she actually went through, she was pretty devastated from her surgery. And so we were in the hospital from the beginning of December through February, basically. And then she really progressed very well through the rest of her treatment and her radiation. So by that summer, she had about a 10% chance of being cured from her disease, and this was in 1997.
Wow,
so it's a long time ago. And so we thought maybe she was the 10% by June or July, and then she went in for a routine scan on my birthday, my 30th birthday, and they found that her tumor had come back. So she relapsed in August, and she passed in early November of '98.
I'm so sorry. One of the reasons why you had said it was because I wasn't aware of this when we get cancer treatments, that if you do an aggressive cancer treatment, your body can't do it again. Explain what had happened there.
So there's an amount of toxicity that you can withstand as a person, and it changes, different kinds of chemotherapy agents treat the body differently. You can handle more of it as an adult or with different periods of time between treatments.
Okay.
So it's really kind of a decision that the care team makes, understanding the drugs and their interactions a lot better. So the other problem she had is when her tumor came back, it was actually on both sides of her brain. So biology, for anybody, if it crosses into both sides, you got big problems. So
right. So then that part happens of what are we going to do now? So we're going to come back, everybody, and we're going to find out about Morgan Adams and how she became a foundation. We'll be right back.
Kathie J.
The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on.
Kathie J.
Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So before my break, we're joined today by Joan Slaughter. Yay, Joan. Joan is the mother of Morgan Adams, beautiful Morgan Adams, who got cancer, had a tumor at 5 years old, and 11 months later, she passed away.
Yep.
And all of the mothers right now, parents, it's you can't even think about that. You can't even fathom your child suffering like that.
Yeah.
So in that 11 months, what did you go through? What did you learn? I mean, everything, right? Your whole world went upside down, but it was a whole new world you were getting crashed into.
It's a whole new world. I've never met a kid who had any kind of a disease or illness in the hospital who wasn't really an amazingly strong human.
Yeah.
It really is extraordinary to watch a child and the grace that they have and the dignity that they have when they're dealing with it. And they have their kid moments, but as a whole, they want to be out riding their bikes even when they feel terrible, and they just really embrace life. And there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to learn. They're very, very painful moments.
Yeah.
Making life decisions for your child is something I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Mm-mm.
And so
So Morgan, when the summer came and you realized she wasn't going to be able to win this next battle, what happens then from August to November? What do you do as a parent? I mean, I'd be mad. I'd be mad as hell. I'd be swearing. Where do you where do you find your place?
I swear a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She swears so much. Look at these awesome boots she bought everybody. These are her butt kicking boots. She bought these. These are her strength boots. They're I mean, you emotions that you got to go through all of them, right?
Yeah, it's really there aren't words really to describe what you go through as a parent when you're watching your child suffer. And you would take it away 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah, because it's the poking and the prodding and another test, and they're tired and so
and the vomiting and the all
right. So when she passed away, you created the Morgan Adams Foundation. Did you know you wanted to do this foundation prior to her passing away?
Oh no. My late husband started talking with some of the folks at Children's about how could we help them more. And in 97 and 98, there was not a lot of money being directed to kids' cancer research.
Yeah.
And there still isn't. But there has been a big uptick in the community of parents that have come forward over the last 20 years. The vast majority of advancements have been made through private sector, so families that have raised awareness.
And so much awareness, everybody, that I was watching a video of a family where there's 2 siblings, 2 years apart, and they both had cancer.
Right.
But in that 2 years of the research money coming in, the treatment for what those 2 kids had to go through was totally different.
Totally different.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's what the research money that you can help this foundation does. It helps the kids from suffering more than they have to.
Right.
Absolutely. So I have to think this has to be the hardest part about the foundation is you have to talk about Morgan.
Yeah.
And what you went through.
Yeah, Morgan and just so many. So 20 years we've been doing this. So many other kids that we have come to know and kids that we have lost. Lillian, that you mentioned, is actually one of my youngest daughter's closest friends. So when she was diagnosed with her cancer, it was devastating for her family. And then when her little brother was diagnosed 2 years later, you just watch this family that you've known for 15, 18 years
go through
this twice. And it's just an unbelievable thing to have to bear witness to, and you just try to hold up the people that you love.
And so you learned, that's what kind of what the foundation was let's hurry up and get more money for the kids, but also it's about support groups for the parents.
Yes.
And what you were going through.
Yeah, giving people a safe place to come and talk about what they've been through.
Nobody tells you how to deal with the pain of your child suffering.
Nobody
like that.
tells you how to do that.
Yeah, so your anger, and I mean, like, how do you settle it with God or with whoever your spirit is? 1 in 5 children will not survive their cancer. So you're not the only parent out there that has, I mean, what do you say at night?
I mean, it's hard. My husband and I resolved it differently a little bit. You know, I think he spent a lot more time in the angry and doing. Mm-hmm. I did a lot more of the not getting out of bed for a while.
But I would too.
We had Andrew, and so, you know, at some point we had the gift of another child, and then we actually found out we were expecting our 3rd child just after Morgan died, which was also that was for me personally a difficult journey.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but our youngest, Grace, is like, she has been my my kids are fantastic. I'm a grandma now, so I have a 2.5-year-old grandson. So I mean, you know, the joy that you find, and Leo has really been what a gift for our family, right? There's just so much joy that comes from watching kids grow.
Oh no, that's the hard part of life. I mean, and the beauty of it is the ups and downs that we all go through on the roller coaster called life. So it's just this one doesn't have to be that horrible, you know. So everybody out there, when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can get some really cool artwork from some really cool artists, and that money goes back to the Morgan Adams Foundation. We'll be right back.
Kathie J.
Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better.
Kathie J.
Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. Today we're honored to have Joan Slaughter here. She's the founder of the Morgan Adams Foundation, and she's mother to beautiful Morgan Adams, who passed away way too soon. What year did Morgan Adams pass away?
1998.
1998. And when was the foundation started?
In 2000.
In 2000. And was this something you and your late husband, you did it together?
Yeah.
Okay, and why did you start the foundation?
It was his idea.
It was his idea.
It's his love story. He he started talking with the folks at Children's Hospital Colorado about how we could get more involved, and because of the lack of funding for research, that was what they asked us to do. Can we help fund the development of kind of the infrastructure of the bench science program? So really investing in the research.
And you were like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep, we'll figure it out. So
you started the foundation, and then you were like, we need to get money in here. We need to get the cause out there.
Yeah, so Steve, my husband was a photographer, and he had a photo studio that he used as a small art gallery. And so he came home one day and said, we need to do this. We're going to do a fundraiser, and we're going to have an auction. And I truly thought he was crazy. I was like, what? I'm an accountant. I'm back of house.
Right,
okay?
right.
I mean, I am back.
You're type A.
I am the back
He's
of
over
house.
here in
So,
this world.
He was like, let's do this. And we had a couple friends who said to him, yes, they were artists, and
I'll do something for you.
Girlfriend who ran the warehouse sale for Listen Up, and we had worked there, and the whole community, just as soon as Stephen said he wanted to do it, they all came forward and said, we will get involved in this, and we're going to make it work.
And that was
It
ARTMA.
was unbelievable. So it was ARTMA.
It was ARTMA.
Girlfriend of mine is a writer and a graphic designer, and came up with the ARTMA stands for Art for Morgan Adams.
I love that. I was going to ask you if that was what it was.
And so the Ma is always a different color than the art, just to keep them distinct.
Yep, keep them separate.
Good friend did that for us, and then we just kind of were off and running, and we sent out general inquiries. And I think that the reality is there are very few people in the world who are fortunate enough to have not had cancer touch their lives.
Yep.
And so in order for this to come off, the people who really are passionate about it came forward, and
they gave their beautiful artwork in time. So before we get into showing the artwork, the thing about the Morgan Adams Foundation is your motto is always, it's about finding more than, it's about giving them hope. Right? More than hope. Right. It's about finding that cure.
Right.
And different treatments for different kids, and to make them not suffer, right? I mean, that's really the goal here.
Right.
And so tell everybody again why this is so important to you, that we can find a cure for these kids.
We can. And I think the leukemia, ALL is like the perfect story from the standpoint of how a diagnosis is fatal, and 30 years later they are able to cure a huge number of kids. So
that's exactly right.
They are 95% curing kids with ALL. The treatments are still horrible. Those families, there's a lot of conversation about, you got the good kind of leukemia. Well, no kind of leukemia is good leukemia.
You're
That's
right,
not an okay thing to say.
But if people are judging it like that,
then they get through the treatment and they have a good outcomes. Now where they are with leukemia treatments is they're looking at how can they reduce the amount of treatment that they're giving to these kiddos and still achieve a cure.
Yes,
because ultimately the goal is, when you're putting systemic, right? So chemotherapy that goes through a kid's entire body, you're impacting their heart, their lungs, all their vital organs. You're creating a potential for lifetime health issues.
Right.
And so what the ultimate goal is, achieving cure with the least amount of harm possible, right? How do we just reduce toxicity?
And we do that with more money for the research, everybody. Yep. So you do have your big ARTMA fundraiser coming up on April 30th. Yes. Tell us about it. Here's all the cool artwork, everybody. Start with this one.
Start with this one. So this is actually done by Lillian Schaefer, who's one of the two kids that we were talking about who was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma her senior year in high school.
And then her brother 2 years later.
Her brother
she drew this.
She's amazing.
She's a
phenomenal artist. Yep.
This will be up for auction.
This will be up for auction.
We have a lot of other amazing things up for auction.
A lot of other amazing things.
Yeah, so there's artwork. I saw necklaces, so jewelry. I saw sculptures. We have these beautiful paintings behind me.
Yep.
What do you want to say about some of
traditional oil and abstract? Sandra Pratt's new to us this year. I've been trying to get her to participate in the event since it started. I love her work.
It's beautiful.
She paints with a palette knife, and she uses a really rich color palette. So I particularly love her stuff. So I'm very excited that she's with us this year.
I'm excited too. So
Yeah.
ARTMA is going to be from 6 to 10 p.m.
Yes.
at the Denver Design Center on
Yep.
April 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can see all of the beautiful art. It's up on your website.
It is.
Right now. You can see it. But MorganAdamsFoundation.org, everybody.
Yep.
But also, these little kids art, real fast. I have to
Really?
show these.
Yeah.
Say what you need to about this fluffy guy.
So these are the Glass Artisans Guild. This is Fluffy. He's a superhero that Jesse, age 4, drew the picture of, and then the glass artists come, meet the kids, take the drawings, and render them in 3-dimensional
So cool,
art.
everybody.
They're gorgeous.
Please come and buy what you can and support it and give our kids a fighting chance, everybody. Thank you to the Morgan Adams
Thank you
Foundation.
so much for having
and
us.
God bless you, Morgan. We love you, beautiful.
Thank you.